So I'm going to introduce our first speakers, Maria Malmgren and Jennifer Hewson, and they are from the Gabriola Health and Wellbeing Collaborative, and they're going to speak to some of the questions that we've shared ahead of time with them. So take it away, Maria and Jennifer.
Great. Thanks so much, Mitch. Thank you, Francine. And yes, I see my buddy Jennifer there. Okay, so Maria and Jennifer here from the Gabriola Health and Wellbeing Collaborative on the traditional and unceded territory of the Snuneymuxw First Nation on Gabriola Island. And we're very pleased to be here with you. Our collaborative member, the Gabriola Health and Wellbeing Collaborative, was formed in 2016 to support a shared vision, a healthy Gabriola community. And our collaborative member organizations represent all sectors: health, social and emergency services, the environment, arts and culture, the economy, food security, housing, sports and recreation, religious and spiritual groups, and local government. This range of the member organizations enables us to address the social determinants of health in our community. As with many local organizations, we were a volunteer-run organization, and by early 2022, a number of our volunteers were looking to step back from time and responsibility. The idea was then broached to establish a paid social planning position, a community well-being coordinator, which would be located on Gabriola, on contract with an appropriate local organization and funded by local taxpayers via their property taxes to the RDN. Work began on an application for an RDN financed feasibility study, and the RDN approved the application. In August 2022, the feasibility study noted that the current work being done by the volunteers was unsustainable and recommended the hiring of a part or full-time position with funding to be provided by the RDN, raised through a tax levy on the taxpayers of Gabriola Island. This recommendation was followed on by the RDN, and from August 2022 through to February 2024, the RDN and the Gabriola community worked together through a public engagement and an alternate approval process, where Gabriola property owners took on responsibility to raise approximately $100,000 for this full-time position, with the first year being a part-time pilot project.
Great. Thanks, Maria. Over to me. I'm Jennifer Hewson, and I'm currently the chair. We have a rotating chair, so I'm the chair for this for 3 months. And just to follow up on what Maria has already shared about this incredible initiative, at this point we have hired a part-time coordinator who's working 80 hours a month. And it seems like it's more than 80 hours a month, but that's for a lesson learned. We have formed a collaborative coordinating team. It used to be called the leadership team, but we realized that doesn't capture the essence of the nature of our work, which is the coordination of the work and working closely with the part-time coordinator. And we're currently evaluating our process. So something we engage in is formative evaluation, as well as we'll be working on a summative or outcome evaluation. And we meet monthly. And so some of the things in terms of the challenges, I know I have a few seconds left, is we call them opportunities, but it's identifying, prioritizing our community issues. And we're fortunate to have a strategic plan. And we have a 2024 Gabriola Health and Wellbeing Report, which is focused on the social determinants of health. So that really guides our work. We've been in a process of and are continuing to engage in community and with our collaborative members to work together on identifying key community issues and how to address them. And I think most importantly, our focus has been on securing both human and financial resources to support the collaborative work. In terms of key, yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to just have to cut you off there. We're going to keep it on time for
okay,
everybody.
That's fine.
And just
Sure.
Yeah, Jennifer, just to let everybody know that after these sessions, you will have the chance to follow up with the presenters. They'll each be in a separate breakout room, and you can choose and follow up and find out more about what they do and ask questions. So that's coming up right after this session. So thanks, Jennifer. Again, sorry about that.
Thank you.
We are going to move to our next speaker, who is Heather Picotte, and she's going to be speaking about food security. And she is from the Salt Spring Island Farmland Trust, Neighbours Feeding Neighbours. Hi, Heather. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. Huh. Oh, good. Okay, sorry. I was just saying that I think that was the wrong slide, but if we can put it on my slide, that would be great. Thanks. So yeah, my name is Heather. I'm here also with my co-coordinator, Grace Wampold. We're working together, coordinating Neighbours Feeding Neighbours. It's an emergency food security planning project on Salt Spring. I'm going to say EFS for short from now on. So this project is the first phase in what we hope is a long-term effort in developing an island-wide plan for responding to food security needs in an emergency. And that could be any emergency from earthquake to wildfire to supply chain disruption. So just a tiny bit of background, only about 6% of Salt Spring's food comes from Salt Spring, probably like most of the other islands represented here. And pretty much all of that is fresh fruits and vegetables. So not all of the things that we all need to survive. So as an island region, we're in extreme risk of food insecurity. And as a bit more background on Salt Spring, we have an emergency communications and organization system called the pod system, in which the island is divided into 60 pods based on geography. So if you live on Salt Spring, you belong to a pod. And we're organizing the work at the pod level, and we have 10 pilot pods acting as sites for these planning activities. So because we want to be more food sovereign, and that means divorcing ourselves from the global food supply chain, on Salt Spring, we are trying to focus our efforts with farmers and their properties. So we're finding out what farmers are growing, who they're feeding with their crops, if they have emergency plans, if they're connected to their emergency pods and pod leaders, if they have extra space for use in emergencies, what they're lacking in preparation for emergencies, and really trying to understand what they need so that they can keep going in a crisis and build resiliency before a crisis happens. So I say we're focusing on farms, but we're doing this also on a more informal level with individual households as well. So challenges, I'll just speak briefly to the fact that we had to sort of go back, didn't realize that some people on the island, more than we realized, were not at all aware of the pod system. So we've had to do some basic education on that. That we weren't really planning on. But success-wise, one thing that's been really good is we've had the opportunity to take over 2 really vital community services for food security. One of them is a friendship garden that has been growing food for populations at risk of food insecurity and malnourishment for about 20 years, and that was at risk of being lost to the community because of aging out volunteers. And also the invasive plant chipping program to reduce wildfire risk on farms and other properties. And that also gives us an opportunity to educate the public about emergency food security and planning. So we've got lots on the go. We're still learning. I guess our insights, are just like listen to the community. This is a planning and research and capacity building phase of this project. So we've really been listening carefully to what the farmers have been telling us and other property owners about their concerns and what they need so that we can really meet those needs in a meaningful way. And just to be flexible when you're doing community work like this, because there's always things that come up that you're not expecting, like the friendship garden. We're really so pleased that we could take that over, but we'd had to pivot to make it happen. So yeah, I'll end that.
Thank you so much, Heather. Thank you. And again, you will have a chance to follow up with our speakers. So our next speaker, I'm going to ask my team to highlight Max, is Max Thaysen, speaking on climate action from the Cortes Climate Action Network.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. So current work, we're nudging our way towards some community climate planning process. So really trying to combine consultation with education to get lots of buy-in in the community, bring everybody along. Obviously, if people aren't on board, then it's really hard to make change. So we'll be working on that pretty hard this year, and it's been something we've been aiming at for a while. We also do quite a bit of movement and narrative building. So I think a lot of people think of community climate action as like, how do we reduce our emissions at the community level? And I think that that's important, but it's not as important as changing society's narratives and joining in coalitions regionally to get the changes that we need on the biggest scale that we can. And so that's not always satisfying to everyone who prefer to have tangible changes on the ground that make us feel better. But in order to survive the next century, that's kind of what's necessary. So we always try to nudge in that direction while also bringing people together with tangible emissions reductions on the ground. Right now, we have an opportunity within our zoning bylaw review process that's happening to make a few changes. And so we've spent some time focusing there. And one of those, we're doing an interesting experiment, seeing if there's community will for a ban on mansions. So a maximum house size within our zoning bylaw. And this is a really interesting opportunity because I think that the luxury emissions problem is huge. One climate person that I follow estimates that about a third of global emissions are due to luxury or superfluous or unnecessary emissions. So that's a really interesting framework that I think has been missing from the climate conversation so far and can be really helpful at bringing more people on board. Lots of us can point to somebody with more money and more emissions than us that can justify us not reducing. And so starting at the top of that emissions hierarchy, which does overlap very tidily with wealth, I think is an important strategic move. And it's a bit experimental and it's a bit divisive. So people just generally don't like more rules. I think that's one of the big challenge, but also, yeah, various other challenges. But we'll see how it goes. So that's ongoing. Is that my 3 minutes?
Yes, that's your good time. So thank you so much for sharing, Max, about what you're doing over there on Salt Spring. We are going to keep moving along here. Our next speaker is Kelly Armstrong. If I could get Kelly highlighted, thank you. Who will be speaking about tourism from the Southern Gulf Islands Tourism Partnership. Welcome, Kelly.
Hi, thanks everybody. My name is Kelly Armstrong. I've worked and volunteered for the past 3.5 years on Salt Spring Island. Grew up mostly summers all around this region as my dad's from Port Alberni, so know the area quite well, and then decided to move here. I've been on the chamber board, or I was on the chamber board for 2 years when I first came, and then I switched over to the Southern Gulf Island Tourism Partnership. Just seemed like a really good fit with my background working with DMOs in Alberta and helping create them. I'm also the chair for the Salt Spring Island Festival of Trees that's hosted here at the Harbor House Hotel, which I'm the general manager at. Harbor House Hotel is the largest accommodator in the Southern Gulf Islands, so we play a big role in events and stuff that happen on the island. So that's a little bit about me. The Southern Gulf Islands Tourism Partnership is the community destination marketing organization for Salt Spring, Pender, Maine, Galiano, and Saturna Island. Our mission goes beyond attracting visitors. We're committed to fostering a regenerative visitors economy that brings net positive benefits to our communities. Tourism should enhance, not disrupt, the social culture and environmental fabric of our islands. Our goal is to ensure the places that we love remain vibrant for both those who live here and those who visit. An overview of our current work related to resiliency and regenerative destination management. Our approach has centered on seasonal and geographical visitor dispersion, encouraging visitors to explore different areas of the region and to travel outside of our peak seasons. All of our marketing efforts focus exclusively on promoting off-season visitation from October through April. This is when our local businesses need support and when visitors can experience the islands without overwhelming our fragile ecosystems and our limited infrastructure. We make a deliberate choice not to spend a single dollar promoting the high season. Instead, during the summer, we invest in visitor education. helping travelers engage responsibly with our communities. This includes encouraging water conservation, car-free transportation, ethical wildlife viewing, and proper trail etiquette. Concerns that our residents have repeatedly identified as priorities. Even our brand reflects this commitment. You won't see us using bright summer imagery in our campaigns because we're dedicated to raising awareness exclusively for the shoulder seasons and for the off-season travel. One or two major challenges experienced. One of our biggest challenges has been communicating the value of tourism as a collaborative and sustainable industry. Too often, tourism is seen through traditional lenses, one that suggests unchecked growth at the expense of the local communities. That's not our approach, nor should it be. We see tourism as a way to enhance island life, not disrupt it, but to make this vision a reality. We need strong partnerships. For example, could visitors help with trail maintenance or local harvests? Could they contribute in ways that benefit both them and the community? This happens a lot, actually. We can't drive
Ellie,
these initiatives alone.
Sorry, I
can't-
just had, I'll let you just finish your sentence and then your time will be up. I'm sorry, I should have given you a bit of a warning there. So,
Oh,
but
that's
we will
okay.
have chance. Yeah. Why don't you finish
We
your last
can't-
sentence though? Yeah.
We can't drive these initiatives alone, so we work for partnerships. That's it.
Okay. Thank you so much. That was the last sentence. So perfect timing. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, my apologies to the speakers here, whereas as I'm trying to keep us on time. Let's welcome our next speaker, Roksan Parfitt, speaking about the arts from Galiano-Yellow House Arts Center. Hi, Roksan.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today and hope your day is great and spring day. I'm Roksan Parfitt. I am an immigrant settler from Turkey, and I'm talking to you today from Schikstetten, unceded lands of Penelakut, Lamaltia, Litsum, Alcimünum, and Sankotan speaking peoples. Yellow House Art Center location is also, as far as we know, was always shared land among different nations. So established in 2019, Yellow House Art Center Society fosters creativity, culture, and community on Galiano Island through accessible, inclusive, year-round arts programming. We facilitate workshops, host exhibitions, present performances that engage local and surrounding communities while promoting equity, decolonization, and environmental awareness as well. These are in a summary of our mandate. We are a contemporary space for gathering, making, and sharing arts. We have amazing time for the last 6 years, as well as major challenges, of course. Number one would be financial sustainability in our small populated island with 1,400 people. Because we pay artists and cultural workers better each year. We insist on delivering accessible programming, which means we are all our events either by donation or sliding scale, very affordable or free. And we another major challenge, which is attached to that, it's that participation numbers also. So we did rely on grants mostly, project grants, but we're in a medium place that we're not able to get operating grants yet either. Our budget is not as big, but many small project grants to apply every year. And there is one staff coordinator and 6 board members that are volunteering, and coordinator, me, don't get paid all the time. So half of it, most of the time, is volunteering. So we need sustainability. Our key insight would be, we know the face-to-face community building is really important, and challenging conventional perspectives, the way that we do work, the way that we gather, the governance, all these things are we push boundaries and challenge these things. For example, youth runs youth workshops themselves and so on. We embrace diverse viewpoints and we love collaborating. We choose organic, slow-paced, community-informed growth. We are really proud right now that among all these challenges, we created a cultural hub that fits our island and it's community-informed. We get feedback every year and flexibility is important in our eyes and what's needed. We foster creativity in our community and we also utilize the power of arts to support positive social change. As arts is an essential a catalyst for change and also very important for the process of healing and helps us confront hard situations as well as communities, individuals, and groups. We've been building meaningful relationships since the beginning with our local youth, especially, and our local Indigenous communities. We had 2 big impactful exhibitions and many gatherings with our Indigenous community. Our goals are sustainability, and we would like to be here doing this because we get very great feedback for as long as possible. We'd love to further diversifying our audience and have more accessibility, invite more communities that we don't get connected with, including we need a better website and better accessibility overall. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Roksan. Thank you for sharing about your art center. Let's keep on moving along. Our next speaker is Emily Wisden-Seaweed from NBDC, and they'll be speaking about capacity building and grocers. Hello again, Emily.
Hello again. Thank you guys for having me. This is my first time speaking at an event, so if I go too fast or get flustered, I apologize. I'd like to start by thanking Beth and Charisse at Rising Tides for helping prepare me for today. I really appreciate their help that they provide to us and to many others in the North Island. First off, we are Namgis Business Development. So right away, we are talking about economic development, which means financial dividends, but as a metric of success. But we also believe it's our duty to provide what we call social dividends as well. And it falls into one of our pillars to build capacity within our nation membership as well as our North Island community. And with that in mind, that's why we brought forward our greenhouse project. It is not going to be a huge financial dividend provider right away, but the social dividends we believe are huge. So I'll just start at the first slide here. We're partnered with Growcers, who provided us with modular hydroponic farms. They are completely Canadian, built, designed, and shipped in Canada, and it's turnkey, which is great for the planning. Some of the challenges that we came up against right away is that the only training hub provided is over on the other side of Canada, which is a problem for local people trying to get over there. We are hopeful for a successful pilot, and it's going to take a little bit to transition from a small pilot to full-scale commercial production and making sure that we have a market for what we are growing. And we're talking about trying to apply for some grant funding to be a West Coast training hub, because we believe that these hydroponic greenhouses are really going to be helping many nations address their food insecurity. So the great things about a hydroponic greenhouse is that it's soil-free, it's controlled, it uses less land, less water than the traditional methods, and it can support continuous growing even as far down as -40 degrees Celsius. So it's not held by any traditional seasonality, which is really great when you're talking about food security. I have some quick productivity metrics down the bottom. That's just to give you guys an idea of what each container is able to produce. And you can see that it actually is quite large. And so we believe that it will support retail. So our goals right away is having a successful pilot. We should be starting our first growing cycle in April, which is incredibly exciting. And we are sending 2 of our community members to the training camp to come back to us and help then provide the training for further people. We're looking
Just
at
a 1 minute warning. A 1 minute warning, Emily, just to let you know.
Okay, thank you. We're looking at different ways to access the retail market, whether it's through subscription boxes, local grocery retails, North Island restaurants, and farmers markets. And then, like I said, we are also moving forward on trying to become the West Coast training hub for other grocer people who are signing on. And yeah, that's basically me.
Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you. It's a wonderful variety of initiatives, all tied to the theme of resiliency. Our second to last speaker is Jennifer Case, speaking about community education engagement here from North Island College. Welcome,
Hi,
Jennifer.
can everyone hear me? I just want to talk a little bit about, I work in continuing education and department, which is a little bit different than the regular departments in the college. We're not academic, we're not tied to the academic year. So we can be really responsive and flexible to meet the needs of different communities when they need it. So I wanted to talk about 3 sort of programs that we've done over the last couple of years that were in response to requests from local communities. Our office and clerical program actually came from a remote First Nations community on the Central Coast who wanted some very basic training for new office workers so that they could hire within their own community. So we provided a month-long training, which gave them bookkeeping, basic word skills, and some employability training as well. And that was the first iteration of it. And we have since delivered it 4 more times in community or online. The Marine Guiding Foundations program is essentially an expanded adventure guiding kayaking program, and that was in response to local outdoor adventure and kayak companies who are looking for kayak guides who are a little bit more well-rounded than just being a kayak guide. They also do a lot of work with local First Nations and cultural training with local First Nations in the communities that those businesses are going to be in. We're getting ready to deliver the 3rd iteration of this on the West Coast in April this year. And then the Project Coordinator Foundations program also came out of conversations with communities who, like many of you, are doing all of these projects off the side of your desk. You find you've got, all of a sudden, there's a new government funding program and you need to apply for funds, but you're the only one in your office who can do that. So what this basically was to be able to to train somebody in your office to take that off the side of your desk so that they could actually, deal with actually the project and the funding once it actually came through. So those were the things. Some of our challenges, instructor recruitment for in-community delivery and remote and rural areas is absolutely been a challenge. Accommodation for instructors in remote areas. Right now, we've got instructors who are sleeping in a spare room of someone's house in Kinkham Inlet because that's the only place that they could find for someone to stay. The internet connectivity for remote delivery in some of these communities has also been a real challenge, and of course, funding for the delivery. Some of the other challenges we've had, insights that we need to talk about. We had one instructor who was not familiar with dangerous cargo runs and missed the first day of teaching because they tried to get on a BC ferry that was a dangerous cargo run.
1 minute warning, Jennifer.
Okay. And So that was one of them. Transportation is really one of the biggest challenges that we have. But one of the things we're the most proud of is that we're able to develop programs quickly in response to community needs. From a conversation with the community to delivery of a program, sometimes we can do it in as little as 3 weeks. And that's been really exciting to see, that being able to be that responsive to those community needs. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming and speaking with us. Our last speaker for our showcase is Julie Sperber. Julie will be speaking about regional collaboration from the Vancouver Island Economic Alliance and the Vision 2050.
Well, hi, everyone. It's really great to be here, and big thanks to the RIEP team for putting on this forum and inviting me to have the opportunity to share the most exciting project that I feel I have going on at the Vancouver Island Economic Alliance. And a little bit of background about what I'll refer to as VIEA. It's been around for nearly 19 years. It's been a regional entity that is a nonprofit, non-governmental organization that has really tried to support collaboration and economic resilience and a thriving sort of economy on Vancouver Island and the rural islands. I became the CEO of the organization not quite 3 years ago and have really enjoyed digging into some of the work. But one of the key pieces that I found is that there is still a whole bunch of siloed activity, which we are all familiar with, that people are working in their sub-region of the entire region, and they're doing such great work, but it's not really connecting to the wider region or really sort of threading anything that can build resilience for our islands for long term. And so I'll back up a little bit. The Vancouver Island Economic Alliance did a strategic plan. It started in 2023, and we wrapped it up in about June of last year. And in that, the interest holders that we engaged throughout the process really said that VIEA should lean into that connector, convener, and collaborator role. And so we have an annual event called the State of the Island Economic Summit. It's hosted in Nanaimo. 600 people come from around the region. And as part of that program in 2023, I threw in a new sort of engagement style called Action Labs. And we talked about food security and community economic design and development. And from that, we had a What We Heard report. And with that in the strategic plan, it became clear that people were really interested in having that sort of group discussion for problem solving, for future planning, for building resilience, and sort of a thriving community in health and wellness for our region. And so then the Vision 2050 was born with the idea that if we can host complex conversations around some of our greatest challenges, as well as some of our biggest opportunities in the region, and hold space for that through the organization that I'm working for, we would be able to sort of vision what we would like life to look like on Vancouver Island and the rural islands in 2050 and for future generations. And so if that strategic alignment could happen at that high level regional view, then we could start to, in place-based ways, work towards that. So how the rural islands and how Victoria and how Port Alberni and Port Hardy work towards that is all going to look different. But if we're all, in our places where we reside in the communities that we invest in, are holding a vision for the entirety of the region, then VIEA would be that connector piece. VIEA would start looking at putting out an annual impact report that had calls to action.
1 minute warning, Julie.
Oh, see, it goes so fast. So then the last piece of this is really redefining, reimagining, and rethinking how we do things. Redefining what business is. Is it just for profit or is it for purpose? Reimagining the role of communities in economy, reimagining how we invest our money, and then rethinking, the nonprofit and community as actors in economic development and what that looks like. And the last final thought, I was at another conference earlier this week, South Island Prosperity Partnership put on the rising economy in Victoria. And there was 2 speakers there, Zita Cobb from Fogo Island and Tiara Fraser from, I'm not going to say it right, but Isku Airlines. so an Indigenous entrepreneur, and they both planted a seed with me that I want to put forward because I think this group and this network would really appreciate it, is looking at money as nutrition or a nutrient for community health and people health. And so that is sort of encapsulating what I'm hoping to do in working towards this sort of collaborative vision for the region's future.
Thank you so much, Julie. Love that we ended with you and this more inspiring regional vision and talking about regional connectivity and how we can all do this together. So thank you, Julie, and thank you to all our speakers that came today. And lucky us, they're going to stay with us for another 25 minutes here, in which they will be each in separate breakout rooms. And you will have an opportunity to choose which person you want to go to. I believe you can even move around. If is that possible, tech team? They can come back to the big room and then choose another room.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you want to move around and check out a few different discussions, you can. So our breakouts are now ready. So we're going to launch them. And so you should be able to see which breakout room you will be joining, and you just go ahead and join. So enjoy. We are going to do this till 12:40.